To cut our fabric, we need a few different tools. We need our rotary cutter, we need our cutting mat, and then also a ruler. A really, really thick ruler works well for this. This one is thinner than I would like to use, but it's what I have on hand. At school, you will have thicker rulers available. So when using our rotary cutter, there's a few safety things we need to know about. Each rotary cutter is a little bit different, however, safety remains similar between them. This blade is super, super, super sharp. You do not ever want to touch it. And in order to keep us and our peers safe, whenever you set this down on the ground, you want to make sure that the blade is retracted or in the tool. What this means, or what it'll look like, is that the blade, you'll see how it's all in line with the edge or the safety here. If it was to not look like that, you see how the blade pops out? That means it's ready to cut, but it also could cut you, so you never set it down with the blade retracted. That could cut you or a friend if they're unaware of it. So whenever we set it down, we want to make sure that blade's off. Also, a lot of them come with little safeties like this, which either lock the blade out or lock the blade in. So whenever you set it down, make sure it's closed. Also, you have your mat. The mat is going to have inch measurements on it. Right here I have a 5, here I have a 10. If you look back at your directions, you'll see that we need 2 5.5 squares. So I've already gone ahead and pressed my fabric. I've laid it along 2 lines. So I have a right angle going down here at this far corner. And so I'm going to take my ruler, line it up with a 5.5, because remember here was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.5, because that would give us 5.5 inches if you subtract 10.5 minus 5, which is where we started. If this is too much for you, you can always start at 5. Honestly, why I'm using these increments is because it's what's viewable on the camera right now. So we are going to press down. I'm going to take my blade, my cutter. I'm going to go ahead, turn off the safety, stick out the blade, lock it in place. Gonna make sure that my ruler is pressing down. Whenever we cut, we always cut away from ourselves because this helps us to prevent ourselves from cutting ourselves. I'm pressing down on the ruler, but notice that my fingers are not over the ruler. This could accidentally cause me to cut a finger. So I'm cutting along this edge, and notice how my fingers are clear of it. I've lined up the edge of the ruler with it, and now I'm gonna go ahead and cut. And whenever we cut, we just go once. We don't go back and forth because this could create jaggedy edges. Now I'm gonna retract my blade, lock it in place, and I've cut at 5.5, but I need 5.5 squares. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unfold my fabric, and I'm gonna make sure and line up my edges so they're nice and flat. And how many squares do I need again of each color of fabric? 2? You're right, exactly. So I'm gonna, once again, square it down here at the corner. Make sure that that corner is just all nice and even. You'll notice here that it looks like it's going over the edge. That's because this part of the fabric is, it looks frayed, but it's really secure, and so we can just leave it. So here I'm at 5. I go over to 10.5, because remember, that will create my 5.5 square. And then I will press down. I will unlock my safety, stick out my blade, put it in. I make sure my fingers are out of the way, and now I can cut. Perfect. Now I have 2 of my squares created, and I'm gonna do this with my other kind of fabric.